With great pleasure that I invite our first panel for the day on stage. Sabah, Bano, Malik will be leading this moderation. Sabah, Bano, Malik, could you join me on stage? Sabah is an RJ and a journalist and just an awesome person. She has a really cool content Instagram account, and also she's really active on Twitter and asks all these interesting questions about social changes and things that women go through, and it's pretty awesome. You should follow her both on Twitter and Instagram. Okay. All right. If you're in the back, could you please clap? If you're in the back and you can hear me, could you please clap? All right. Over there, you can't hear me? If you can, clap. All right. Okay, cool. I have a better idea. If you're in the back 10 rows, why don't you come in front? Come in front, because people in the back are saying they can't hear properly. The hall is pretty empty right now, so why don't you just come in front? There's no need to be backbenchers today. There's no teacher calling you out. Aa jaye, samne aa jaye. If you're in the back, just come to the front. All right, great. Joining Sabah on stage is Bilal Hassan, also known as Mr. Paki. I met him in person just yesterday, and his aura is super kind, which also his online presence is as well. He does lots of cool things. During the day, he'll tell you what he is, but he does a lot of cool travel content and just making people aware of the different side of Pakistan. Joining Mr. Paki is Kazi Akber. Allah rahim kare. Kazi is a podcaster and I would say has essentially gone viral the last year. He's had a huge increase in following for his 1-minute reels, which is just talking about bigger issues and kind of breaking it down for the younger generation. He also has a background from KTN, which I thought was super interesting. I didn't know, and I'd love to hear about that on this panel. And Areeba Siddique is here. Come on stage. Areeba Siddique is also another phenomenal content creator. Please do follow her on Instagram if you don't. And Hassan bin Shaheen, join us on stage. He's a comedian, content creator, lawyer, rapper. You saw him perform, just did an amazing job yesterday. Over to you, Sabah.
Is this on? Oh, loud. Can you guys clap really loud? I'm concerned about the energy. It's Sunday morning. She lied. I've been up since 5, so this is going to be 1. And also another clap for our panelists, please. We're all here with us today. So I'm excited for today because we're going to be talking about content and content creation. How many of you follow these content creators up here? Clap for yourselves for being smart and doing that. Well done. More of you should be. We'll fix that by the end of this. So let's just get right into it. Since Sahar gave incredible introductions, I won't rehash who you are except for Mariam Amin over there at the end. Let's start with you, Bilal. And then I want all of you to answer this. What platform do you think Pakistanis these days are consuming the most content, or they're the platform they're enjoying the most?
Honestly speaking, it depends on which demographic of Pakistan you're talking about. And in this, it depends on the age, it depends on the socioeconomic status. And Pakistanis are consuming all platforms. And I think it is actually a very great time to be on the internet right now. You have one segment of society which is using Twitter, and there's one segment which uses TikTok very voraciously. There's also Instagram. So I think all of them in their own way. But TikTok, because of the algorithm, Reels, these things I think are the most right now.
Interesting. We'll get into algorithms. Kazi, I want to talk to you. So you have a podcast as well, of course. With the platforms, how do you promote your podcast? Which one do you find to be the friendliest towards that?
Hello. Oh. So the avid podcast consumer is going to be the most friendly because they're the most invested. But piggybacking off what Bilal said, TikTok, Reels have exploded recently because as a society, we are governed by a depleted cognitive capital. With We just don't have that much time to give, right? And it's antagonistic almost. So if I ask you, okay, watch my podcast, Alhamdulillah, people here, they have the time and the wherewithal to consume this. But a lot of people will actually be like, मेरे पास इतना time थोड़ी होता है. Pardon the colloquialisms, but मेरे पास इतना time थोड़ी होता है. आप मुझे short कर दो, brief में बता दो. But sometimes you need to understand, conversations can't be brief. Yeah. It's life, it's happening every day, right? So yes, the podcast consumers are the friendliest, and unfortunately, the short form content people are the least friendly. But that's not their fault, you know, to say. But yeah.
I like them being described as the least friendly, or the ones that are like,
I'm being friendly when I say they're the least friendly.
They're like, you got 6 seconds, clown. You make me laugh in 6 or you're out.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Areeba, so you are an illustrator, and I want to know how that's been for you, especially with how content consumption has changed. And like, for example, as we've pointed out, people are moving towards Reels and TikToks. So what about for you? How do you find that to be?
I feel like as an artist, my work has been doubled because I can't just post one illustration and expect that it's gonna blow up. So I have to work for animations, and it's taking me like 3 to 4 days just to make a 10 seconds clip. So I feel like as an artist, I'm suffering because I can't just make a drawing and post and be like, okay, I'm done for the day.
Yeah.
So as an artist, my work has increased, and then if it doesn't do well, I start thinking maybe it's not the right platform for me, but I'm still thinking if I should move to some other platform instead of Instagram. But since my following was based on Instagram, and there was this huge artist community that has suffered so much, so I'm still, finding my way through Reels and some outfit photos and videos. So, I feel like it's a long journey, and it's a lot of experimenting. That whatever works for me, I'll just go on with it.
I just, sorry, I'm like screaming in here. I just did the analytics of my page as well. And I found that the funny was performing, but like the outfit pictures and like the hot girl moments were, it was very hurtful to me. So I'm trying to find a place for that as well. Now, Hassan, at the end over there, Hassaan.
Yeah.
Maria?
No, I'm Maria Maimon's stunt double, in case you guys are confused. Don't worry.
Maria could not come today, so we brought in this extremely talented man at the end. It was also his birthday this week, so I just thought as a way to pick us all up, can we sing him happy birthday? Can you guys do that with me? Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you.
Follow me as a gift.
Happy birthday to you.
Follow me again.
Happy birthday, dear Hassan. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Woo!
Thank you to the 2 people in the audience. I appreciate it.
I saw, yeah. I mean, my voice is not for singing, and the fact that none of you drowned that out is hurtful. Okay. So over at the end, you are a comedian, a teacher. You've taught other comedians as well. Multiple have already been on this stage today, including myself. So what about for you? How are you finding putting content out on Instagram? And
compared to everyone on this panel, I think I'm like very early on in my journey. I don't have a huge following. I'm in the process of actually accumulating those numbers. So it's been fun because it's only been a year for me since I've started doing it. And I just absolutely know it doesn't matter what I am putting out, as long as I'm putting it out there, opportunities are now opening up. Like, it's a very new feeling for me that initially I'd have to go to a room, be like, hi, I'm Hassan. And depending on who the audience was, I'm like, oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm a teacher, I'm a content creator. But now at least like there is some recognition, so that's been very, very interesting for me. I predominantly use Instagram, और मैं Insta Reels पे जो video होता है मैं Facebook पे भी लगा लेता हूँ, TikTok पे भी लगा लेता हूँ, क्योंकि in my opinion Insta Reels and TikTok are the most powerful editing platforms that we have. Yeah. So I tend to use like these 2 platforms mostly.
So I just joined TikTok fairly recently. Now I was holding out. How many of you are actively on TikTok, using it, scrolling it? Raise your hand, since you don't like making noise. A silent crowd today. Actually, that's a lot less than I was expecting. It's quite a powerful platform. We spoke, Kazi, you mentioned earlier, like, shortening your work in order to be something people pay attention to. So what is that? Is that something you're enjoying doing, something that's frustrating to you? How do you guys cut down or make reels or take your work and put it in a more digestible format and feel about it?
So I went to school for writing and philosophy. This is new to me, right? So we're encouraged to write thesis statements and essays that are 15, 20, 50 pages long. It was difficult to begin with, simply because I don't believe in shortening anything, right? If this conversation, this beautiful panel, this could go on for 4 hours.
Yes.
I'd be fine with that, right? But most people wouldn't. And so you have to, I understand, economy is a thing. I think it's a challenge. I think, alhamdulillah, it's not a bad thing. But at the same time, what's happened is there was a learning curve, right? And with TikTok, you mentioned TikTok, with powerful platforms like TikTok or the Reels or other editors, it's democratized content creation,
yes.
right? Now there's AI softwares that'll do the photo editing for you. You know, there's photographers in this room, they'll tell you masking was a year's worth of just trial and error, and now you could do it at the click of a button, right? So more and more, the story matters. Now the problem is, how do you shorten stories, right? A story is everything. I'm a story. I'm 30 years old. This is 30 years of stories. How am I gonna synthesize that in a minute, or 5 or 10, right? So it's bittersweet, but Allah Rahm karega. It'll happen, inshallah.
Interesting. So, I like the trick. I also, every photographer in here was like, yep. So I actually want to switch gears and ask another question. Because all of us have had to move, adopt new platforms, or, you know, try to, like, in Areeba's case, like, figure out, like, how do I take this art I make and make it work for other things? Now, in Pakistan, I'm sure many of you remember the dark days, or the YouTube ban, as we call it. TikTok also went through a ban. And I remember when it happened, it was before I was on TikTok. Now that I'm on it, I understand exactly how powerful it is, and actually important for equalizing, honestly, people of Pakistan. It sounds silly because it's TikTok, but it's true. So how do you guys, is that a tension you feel about how you're creating content? Where is it going to live? I want to go down the line to talk about this. Let's start with you, Bilal.
Honestly speaking, Pakistan has always had an issue with, let's say, this freedom of expression and like having the freedom to say what you want to say, because in Pakistan the state tells you that ye Pakistani hai, aisa aapko banna chahiye, this is what Pakistan, and they exclude everyone else out of that. And you know, so TikTok is, I believe, the most democratic of platforms because it challenges the very notion of like, oh my God, like, ye bhi Pakistani hai? Is this Islamic Republic of Pakistan? And you have those moments over there, and I think that's why they pull the plug on that. But point being, how long are you going to pull the plug?
Yes.
आप एक पे pull कर लोगे, एक और platform आ जाएगा. Another thing is that like a lot of these platforms now are monetized. YouTube is monetized. People make money from that. जब उन्होंने pull किया the plug तब नहीं कर सकते थे. And now the people who pull the plug, उनके बच्चे यहाँ से पैसे बना रहे हैं, ठीक है? उनकी बीवी कोई होगी, उनका कपड़ों का business होगा. So that's the thing. Now pulling the plug is not as easy as it was back then. So, and people can make a lot of noise now. Like, and I feel like we all have the power to do that.
Actually, I think that was a great answer. So I kind of making noise on that. All of you are artists in your own right. So Kazi, sorry, I'm going to skip over to Areeba and then bring it back because moderating. Do you feel with your content, you are also giving your point of view, or you're starting conversations, or do you find, how else do I want to phrase this? Like, as Pakistani content creators, you know, we've covered it can be a bit of a contentious place. There is a bit of rage when you do not conform or you say things separately. So with your work online, is that something you try to do, is present your point of view, give an image of Pakistan maybe, or your version of it?
I feel like the word rage that you used, I think that has been always the origin point of my artwork, because there's always this hijabi girl saying something that sometimes I do not feel comfortable saying. So instead of putting my real self out there with a photo of me or with a selfie of me and writing down a caption, I feel much safer doing that through my art. I feel like there's a reason why I haven't moved to TikTok, because I do not entirely feel safe putting myself out there. I feel like Instagram is still very exclusive to a lot of people in the country, but TikTok is easy and it's very accessible, and I still am a little uncomfortable putting my real self out there, because I would always want to put myself as an artist first, and my art, and then my personal life. And it feels very safe, and I can say whatever I want, and in the end I can just be like, you know, it's just an art piece, it's not me.
It was my cartoon that said this, it wasn't me. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
I definitely want to talk about safety and self-brand, but first we're going to continue this conversation. So Hassan, at the end over there, comedian. comedy in Pakistan. I mean, there's been headlines over the years. You say something, people don't like it. I myself know that when I get on a stage, I have a list of things that I will not touch.
Yeah.
So what's that like for you when you're about to post something or put content out there? Like, how much thought goes into like, I gotta stay safe at the end of this?
Honestly, I try not to ruffle too many feathers because I used to around 2015, 2016, and I got the memo. Mera sudhar ja, pakde jaoge. So that's why I had to like tone myself down quite a lot. So predominantly now I try to make fun of like general Pakistani harkatein that annoy me, like things that are very common in like Pakistani आदमियों की हरकतें mostly. जिस तरह जानी मैं बताता हूँ is like a कीड़ा that everyone has ना कि even if they're not an expert, they're going to pretend to be an expert. So I tend to like pick on things kind of like what Kazi does, but in like a less क्या कहते हैं educated way. And I just like try to look at like interesting things and tidbits that Pakistanis generally do and try breaking them down in terms of comedy. For example, like Pakistani Harry Potter fans are rabid. उनको आप बोलो मैंने हैरी पॉटर नहीं पढ़ी, वो आपको पता नहीं क्या कर देंगे कि आपने कोई माइनॉरिटी के खिलाफ बात कर दी है, वो अटैक करने आ जाएंगे आपको. तो आई टेंड टू लाइक लुक एट दीज कम्युनिटीज एंड देखा अटैक कर दिया फौरन, मेरी वीडियो और छुपा दी उन्होंने कहा हम नहीं बना रही. So I tend to basically look at like these little tidbits that I find like very amusing in Pakistani society and try making fun of that. And at times I use that as a way to pivot into like much larger conversations. And predominantly I do realize कि वो पाकिस्तानी मर्दों की हरकतें हैं जो मुझे थोड़ी off लगती हैं, तो इसीलिए मैं उनका मजाक उड़ाता हूँ. And it's also like self-reproach to some degree. So it's like fun. But yeah, I'm not like messing up with like daddies upstairs, so it's fine.
The daddies upstairs. I never talk about Pakistani men in a positive or negative light, clearly. So Kazi, I'm going to move to you. Areeba brought up a point about putting the art out there first, sort of almost separating yourself from it. Now you have a podcast, as you said, an educated one that is well-read. So what about you about making personal brand, combining that with content creation? What has that been like, that journey, so to speak?
So it's been abrasive at times because when I was growing up, I would often be lectured about sacha rag, phir jeet jata hai, you know, and so people can copy whatever it is that you're doing, but in the end, your work's going to speak for yourself. But in today's day and age, you are the work, right? And that bifurcation, everyone needs to understand. Everyone here, it doesn't matter if you're a content creator or not. Society, any society, not just ours, any society will reward you for taking risks under your name, right? One of the biggest problems with trolls is anonymity, right? One of the biggest problems, and the thing is, when you search in your core, one of the biggest problems you have with them is that they don't have the courage to say it to your face, with their face, right? But also, the other thing she said about TikTok, the problem with TikTok also is that it is reteaching us what consent is. And I know you've spoken about this at length. Consent, ijazat jo hoti hai. Once you click on TikTok and once it's open, there's no real, I mean, you could set filters, but there's no real concept of consent. You're just going. You just keep scrolling. You don't have to click on something. It just plays, you know? And so that also is partially why the powers that be wanted to kind of tamper with TikTok, because आपको इजाज़त किसने दी? ये तो हम सब ने सुना है ना, आप कौन होते हैं बोलने वाले, क्या ज़रूरत थी, इजाज़त किसको दी? किसी ने नहीं दी इजाज़त TikTok को, and yet it's in all of our heads.
Yeah.
You know, I don't mean to sound like a Marxist up here, but ideological state apparatus, right? It's what it is.
I had put one of my first TikToks that kind of, by popped off, I mean like just a couple thousand views. I'm by no means some big creator out there. I put something up and someone commented, "We don't have to listen to her." And I commented back, I was like, who are you talking to, right? I was like, you're right, you don't. But who are you talking to? You're absolutely, I thought it was the funniest comment I've gotten, right?
But that's the problem, right? That's the problem with our society generally. There's just so much rage, right? Because there's not enough recognition. Most people who want to be abusive or want to be outlandish, they're really just hurting to be recognized, right? People will come onto my Instagram, cuss out my entire family, right? Sorry. In the moment, yeah, it's funny, right? Because they don't know my family, right? In the moment, I'm really upset, right? But then if you just distance yourself enough, you realize this is literally a child asking for help. This is a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old that hasn't heard a kind word, not from his mom, doesn't probably have a mom or a dad, run down by society. It's just, it's getting dark. I'm sorry.
I don't mean to. I didn't mean to laugh at that. You're like this evil woman. I'm only laughing because I'm like, you have such sympathy, whereas I'm just like, boop, stop talking, 16.
But that's it, right?
You wanted to add something to this?
No, but like I wanted to add, like I'm going to add on to what Kazi said, is that for me the platform has evolved to the point where it's not just content or something which I'm just making money from also. And my perspective changed after like this one incident. So basically, I'm also a doctor. So one thing which we were working on like polio eradication, everything, and we were working on why there's fake news spreading, specifically in this area of Balochistan. And it was the summer of Black Lives Matter. I was getting like really emotional, and I was talking about it, and I was like, "हाँ, ये गलत हो रहा है अमेरिका में, कोरे लोग सब racist हो." सारे like I was having this whole like मेरी monologue चल रहा था, TEDx talk चल रही थी मेरी 5 मिनट की. This colleague of mine, like she looked at me like deadpan for 5 minutes, and then she's like, "Bilal, you are full of shit." I was like, "Excuse me, excuse me," and I was like, "It's been a long day. She's probably just tired, and ये वाला." She's like, "Bilal, you are the Pakistani straight white male." And I was like, मेरे तो सर पे से बात चली गई, समझ ही नहीं आया इसने क्या बोला है मुझे. She's like, नहीं जानी, मैं तुम्हें समझाती हूँ, I will explain. I was like, okay, explain to me. She's like, are you born with privilege? तुम like, I was like, हाँ, I guess, I'm comfortable. She's like, अंग्रेजी बोलनी आती है, अच्छी बोल लेते हो ना, बर्गर हूँ मैं कहा, okay, ठीक है. And then she's like, okay, let's get deeper. She's like, are you Punjabi? I was like, excuse me. She's like, no, we're talking about demographics. 45% Pakistan is Punjabi. So obviously, by simple numbers, you come into the privilege hierarchy. I was like, nahin. She's like, where are you from? I go, Karachi, I'm Urdu speaking. She's like, kafi privilege still. She's like, okay. She's like, let's get to religion. She's like, tum Shia ho Sunni ho? I was like, Sunni. She's like, very privileged there. She's like, are you male? I was like, yeah, he, him. She's like, tu mard hai, Sunni hai. You're from Karachi, born with privilege, अंग्रेजी बोलते हो, तुम तो बहुत privileged हो. She's like, तुझे पता है मैं क्या हूँ? मैं कहा क्या? She's like, मैं बलोच हूँ, शिया हूँ, female हूँ. She's like, if I get killed and found in a ditch, she's like, nobody will give a damn. She's like, you will make national headlines. She's like, तुम्हारे ऊपर responsibility है to talk, because men like you अगर बोलेंगे तब लोग सुनेंगे. So for me, it is such a, उस दिन के बाद से, it's such a bigger responsibility that I have to talk. I have to speak up. And more than anything, it's like who I have to talk to is I have to talk to the boys of this country. Because masla jo hai hamare यहाँ Pakistan में ये है, it's the men with privilege who do not talk, who do not stand up for what is wrong in this country. We can talk about Nawaz Sharif, Imran Khan playing musical chairs and everything, it will not change. ये मुल्क बदलेगा when the men of privilege start talking and standing up for what is wrong in this country. So मुझे पता होता है if there are issues that I'm going to talk about, मुझे इस पे गालियाँ पड़ेंगी. If I talk about women's rights, मुझे पता है गालियाँ पड़ेंगी. 14 साल के लड़के हैं ना, जिनको मुझे नजर भी नहीं आते, गालियाँ देंगे, मैं कहा दे गाली, कोई मसला नहीं है, मैं भी आके तुझे 2 डबल गालियाँ दूंगा, ठीक है? And because I am of privilege, I can do that, ठीक है? But like Areeba said, she's like, I fear this. And I understand where she comes from, but I come from a very different hierarchy where I was like, मैं कर सकता हूँ ये. So like,
yeah, honestly, I mean, another round of applause, please. I hope men are taking notes. My God, if we can walk away from anything here, it's you guys learning something. I did want to move to Areeba privilege. I will say, my first year when I was a part of Aurat March, and I, deigned to talk about women's rights. In one day, I had 690 notifications on Twitter. I counted because I was on the radio and they popped up, of which every single one was like every bad word you can think of, curses against my family or whatever. I mean, but I was going to say privilege. I'm glad you brought it up because I do have the privilege, right? I share many of the things as you, that I can just kind of say something, wash my hands of it and say, well, I have this platform to do it. Areeba, do you feel that privilege yourself, that you can take your work and talk about issues that are important to you? I know we touched upon this a little bit earlier, but he got me hyped up, so I want to get back into it.
I have started realizing the power that I have over my followers, that they are actually listening, that whatever I'm saying, they are actually responding well to it. Because whenever people look at my artwork and then me, because I'm a hijab wearing Muslim, and they think that I might be getting a lot of hate, but that's not true. I feel like my followers, in a way, sort of protect me, and if I ever get a negative comment on my artwork, there are people out there willing to fight for me, so half of the time, I don't even have to reply to them because I know there are other people who are fighting for me, and it just, it makes me feel that, yes, like Instagram is still that safe space for me, that I can be myself there. That is why I still haven't switched, because yeah, maybe reach is not as good as it used to be, but there's this element of safety, because putting myself out there on the internet, it's not as easy as a man for in Pakistan. It's very difficult because, you know, if I wear hijab, if I have to follow a very certain strict guideline, because people expect a very certain outcome from me. And I feel like it's my responsibility, the kind of community that I have built, I feel like I owe it to them. Because if they are keeping me safe, if they are respecting my opinion, and I feel like I owe it to them to give them a certain, they have certain expectations, so I have to like fulfill them at one point, and it's not like I don't want to, it's fun to do that. So yeah, I try my best to, you know, fill a certain shoe.
I love that. That means you've built a community. I was going to get into community next. I would say my followers, meanwhile, someone says something to me and they're like, Sabah, come. Sabah, say something. We want to laugh. And I'm like, someone else could have stepped in for this one. This person called me a troll, like the ones that live under the bridge. Please defend me. So I want to bring this question over to Hassan as well. That do you feel you are, that one of the things I find very special about Pakistani content creators and the people underneath their comment, the comment section, so to speak, is that a community is being built. Do you feel that's happening on your page as well?
Yeah, it's very interesting for me right now because my Facebook has like 70% men and 25% women, and the exact same content on Instagram is 50%, 55% men, 45% women. So I personally would like to play more to the Instagram audience, क्योंकि मुझे लॉन्डो से बात नहीं करनी, मैं तंग आ चुका हूँ यार, सही है, आपके मसाइल नहीं सुनने, मुझे बर्दाश्त नहीं होते. And to add to like what was said earlier with regards to abuse, I thank God for my legal education for this. I have an auto-generated message, which is your account has been registered with the FIA C3X #AB7 and you will be contacted within 48 hours. तो ये 14-15 साल के बच्चे हैं ना, मजाक नहीं कर रहा, under 2 hours सॉरियाँ आ जाती हैं उन सब की. Works 80% of the time. So yeah, take an auto-generated message and add it. With regards to the thing that Bilal said about privilege, I really want to add to that. Any boy who was once funny in the 4th grade, जिस पे बोलते हैं, "नहीं तू बड़ा funny है ना," उनका Instagram और TikTok पर account है. Women who are genuinely funny, women who are actually capable of making you laugh, na, they will think 50 million times कि मैं अपने private को public कर दूँ. So the point is कि there is a point of privilege, there is a conversation that needs to be had कि we men have that level of comfort where we can like just say whatever without consequences or worrying about things, and women who actually have a lot more to say, have a lot more substance, will continue to second guess themselves to this day, and this is what I've seen in terms of the disparity.
Yeah, for sure. Clap for that too, yeah. I just love all the acknowledgement. Because I say everything on the internet. I don't know if anyone here follows me, but I'm like, I'm going for it. Oh, you do? My sister just raised her hand. Front row. That is a limited, that is basic. Yeah, when I'm asked about it, like why, I mean, you say these things and you're so confident in this and that, it's like I have to acknowledge that I'm English speaking, I am Punjabi, I am from the multiple of things that would protect me. Also, I'm 33, geriatric in Pakistani years, and at this point, like they're like, how do your parents let you do this? And I'm like, at this point, they can't stop. What are they gonna do, right? And everyone in here is 33 plus is like, good luck. I wanted to ask you guys now, let's go a little lighthearted. We've gone in depth here. What are your favorite, who are your favorite TikTokers or Instagram accounts that you're following that you can shout out here for other people to follow? Oh, did I catch you off guard? Yeah. Should I stick to questions about you guys? You're like, no, we only like talking about us. That's a content creator thing. Our favorite topic, us. Okay, so let's go with Mr. Paki over here. So we were talking about branding and this and that. You've adopted to Reels quite well. Some of yours have gone very viral, might I add. I've shared them in my own content jobs. So yeah, high five for that, if you're following him. So what has that been like, making that shift?
It's been very unique in the sense that like it's very bittersweet because I am used to putting my thoughts out in words and articulating them. Because kai dafa hote hain where like the trolls, they come in the comments, they're like, but what do you mean about this? So like in the caption, everything is backed up. Everything is backed up. Source, site, sab kuch hota hai. I was like, phir mujhse sawal mat puchna aake, theek hai? In Reels, you cannot do that. And in Reels, you are very, very limited in very little words. And we just like jumping off what Kazi said earlier, is that in a very short span of time, you have to grab the audience's attention. It's been fun also because it's new. It's something I'm experimenting with. But it's also frustrating at one time, like, because I sometimes mood nahi hota video banane ka. Kabhi mood hota hai just to put out a picture or just write down a caption because you have a lot of thoughts going through your mind and you want people to read that, but the algorithm kind of kills that. So it's 50-50.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a journalist, so it really would hurt my feelings when I was told this 3,000 word article should be like 500 words. So I've experienced that pain. But putting a video out, I'm always ready to put my face anywhere. So you have a podcast, as we've previously discussed. So we have talked about going shorter, going longer, and this like that. Why did you want to do a podcast? I still feel like in Pakistan, it's still like a burgeoning field, one to say.
Well, I wanted to do a podcast because I thought we'd lost the ability to have a conversation. I just, writ large, I'm also a psychotherapist, and one of the concepts that you work with constantly is holding. I think we as a society, even right now, we just don't have the holding to have any kind of conversation, whether it be about racism, consent, anything else. There's some really outlandish stuff happening in Pakistan right now. We just don't have the emotional bandwidth to have a conversation. So my thing was, I'll call people on, and I'll just have a conversation. My podcasts with Mr. Paki, both of them have been +2 hours. With Hassan's been +2 hours. I've had a few 3-hour conversations, and people were like, "This is ridiculous. You should not put this on. Make shorter clips." I was like, "But if 5 people are having conversations right now while we're talking, which is wonderful. While if we could just have 5 people.
Sorry, they really are having a whole conversation.
That's what I'm saying, right? You can't. And I don't know what's being said. That's more important. That couldn't be said outside the room. But this is just us. I'm not calling anyone out, please. I'm the least confrontational person up here.
Calling you out.
Yeah.
Stop talking.
I'm just saying, speaking over people is exactly what got us to this point, right? And podcasts were a way of just, there's no time limit, dude. Or ma'am, or whatever. Just have a conversation. And so that was the hope. That was always the hope, right? But then it takes a toll on you. When people are like, अच्छा summarize कर दे, अच्छा short में बता दे. भाई नहीं है short में कुछ, क्या बताऊँ short में? 3 घंटे की podcast है, क्या short में बताऊँ? नहीं है कुछ भी. नहीं सुनो. And then they don't, right? Yeah. So they don't. But you can't lose, you can't let them take your heart. You can't lose hope. This is work that needs to be done, I just
want to add like one thing to what Kazi said. The problem in this country is that we're not taught to critically think a situation. We are told black, white, good, bad. We're not told कि बीच में बहुत grey होता है, and there's a lot of analysis that needs to go in, and we've had like 70+ years of mess, and I think it's time we analyze and talk about all of those situations, because we're always told कि नहीं ये गंदे हैं, ये बुरे हैं, ये अच्छे हैं, ये bad हैं, and we need to talk in this country. If anything, everyone needs therapy in Pakistan. I think we'd be better. Everyone needs therapy.
Yes, big ups to therapy.
Kazi is a psychotherapist.
I mentioned it earlier, but this is something I talk about a lot in my content, that I feel when anger or dislike towards what I'm doing or what I'm saying happen. Well, first of all, being a woman, everyone hates what I'm saying to start with. But secondly, it's that it's not conforming, right? Exactly. It's not black and white. This isn't the way we're supposed to talk about things. This isn't how we accept things. I'm wondering, because I can imagine us having contentious things, but Areeba, I wonder, I've asked you this in many ways, but have you ever had like a fight in your comments with someone?
I did. I made an artwork. It was this angry comic. It was about how the men of the country are just ready to kill us. And I started the comic with most men because I knew it was going to come up that not all men.
No.
So I started getting comments on that. there were like at least 5 men in my comment section telling me that it's not all men, and I was like, I wrote most men, and there is a reason that I am talking about, because women are being killed, and they were just, you know, आप लंबी कर रहे होते हो, आप बोल रहे होते कि नहीं ऐसा नहीं है ऐसा है, and I was like नहीं आपके साथ नहीं हो रहा, you can't have an opinion on that, आप आदमी हैं, like Bilal said, it's a very privileged position itself, तो you can't tell me कि नहीं औरतों के साथ ये नहीं हो रहा, ये हो रहा है. And I'm like, no, you can't tell me. Like, it's so frustrating at this point that I don't even want to have a conversation. So मैं सिर्फ delete करती जाती हूँ. So, because yeah, I'm done. I'm not telling you that it's not happening, because it is happening.
Yeah, me, I would, especially if it's like such a bad insult that it made me laugh. Sometimes they're really good ones. I'll pin it to it. So I'll pin it to my photo and then they'll delete it. I once did a shoot, sorry, I want to come to Hassaan about this, where somebody was commenting like very mean things over and over again on these pictures of me on a brand site. So I would go and I would like them. And then they'd delete them. And I was like, this is a game we're playing. And after about 40 minutes, I was like, Sabah, you have to get up. Like, this is not the way to do it. Have you had a fight in your comments?
It's called every Tuesday for me, man. So, but I recently started doing this, honestly, ke Pakistan, mostly again, ये कीड़े जो है ना लॉन्डो में ही होते हैं कि they have this like urge to be like कि ओ मैं तुझे बताता हूँ कि तू कैसे ठीक है, and I've like started figuring things out. Whenever somebody is saying mean things to me, I've like embraced my comedian, my roaster. तो अगर वो बर्गर होते हैं तो उनको मैं मेला कहता हूँ, अगर मैं उनको मेले होते हैं तो मैं उनको कहता हूँ सॉरी, अगर वो बर्गर होते हैं मैंने चुप कर न्यू मनी तू क्या बोल रहा है, अगर वो छिछोरे होते हैं तो मैं उनको खुला मेला कह देता हूँ, मर जाते हैं ना ख़त्म हो जाते हैं, फिर देन दे ट्राई टू प्रूव देयर अंग्रेजी कि नहीं मैं मेला नहीं हूँ. तो आई ट्राई टू लाइक टेक देयर इनसिक्योरिटीज़, क्योंकि सबके प्रोफाइल पर आप जाते हो ना, क्योंकि फेसबुक नाउ हैज़ दैट ऑप्शन. प्राइमरीली मेरे फड्डे फेसबुक पर होते हैं कि आप एक इवन आपने प्रोफाइल लॉग भी किए ना कवर फोटो से, यू कैन टेल लाइक अ लॉट अबाउट समवन, राइट. तो आई ट्राई टू गेट टू देयर इनसिक्योरिटीज. अगर कोई बर्गर बंदा ज़्यादा लंबी इंग्लिश कर रहा होता है, मैं कहता हूँ चल वाइट बॉय निकल यहाँ से. तो I have like these shorthands that I tend to use like interchangeably, and honestly it really works. Most times people get offended so much, then they send me like messages, आपने उसको क्यों नहीं रोस्ट किया, आपने मुझे रोस्ट क्यों किया. So it's like I really enjoy that now.
One of my things that I started doing was, I mean, I'm not sure people will love this one, but I started like, because you know, the first thing people will go to is like, they'll take your mom, they'll sister, these sort of galian, right? So I started doing it with the dad, and I'd be like, well, your dad. Oh my God, the rage. Like, I would get DMs and they'd be like, you didn't have to take it there. And I'm like, you literally called me like an ugly cow. And like I said, that's not what your dad thinks, and now you're mad at me. One of my proudest moments on the internet, I have to say. Thank you.
I also have to genuinely say this, because again, my wife, she makes content. Shout out to @Katalyst.
Yes.
So yeah. मेरी बेगम. Yeah, I'm married to her. Areeba को शौक लग रहा है कैसे? हमारी भी हो सकती है यार, ऐसी बात नहीं है, माना गंजे हैं, कोई बात नहीं. But honestly, again, being in close proximity to like my wife, who also like makes content and obviously talks about like really hard stuff. Sahar, again, as 2030 Mama is my mentor, right? I also know you. What I get and what like we get as guys is like nothing. Faiza Salim is also like a close friend to me. तो हम आप लोगों के साथ abuse होता है, हमारे साथ कोशिश होती है. Right? They will go and personally attack you as people. हमारी बात पर बात हो रही होगी या हमें इस तरह की बात की जाएगी, which is वो they are going to come at your safety. So I can't even begin to imagine like the level of discomfort and the level of hatred that you guys are subjected to compared to like what we have to go through. So yeah, it's like I just need to crack something कि इनको किस तरह खाए. काजी और वीडियोस बनाओ और जल्दी educate करो सबको.
I did a thing where I hid the most common insults people could throw at me and women. And I've actually done this in jobs before, that I'm like, because if you're going to get at me and insult me or women, I'm like, you better be creative about it. So I like to take those words away from them, which is a hot tip to everyone. Then once they get one in, I'm like, chalo, you earned this one, pin it. I want to ask you guys the same question, but I'm hoping to end on a lighter note. If you've ever had a moment that you've answered someone back and it's been like funny or enjoyable. Or a favorite comment you've gotten even, where you were like, all right, you got me. Like someone once called me muscular auntie, and I don't know till this day. So they were like, okay, I was a muscular auntie until this day. It makes me laugh. I don't know why. My whole family laughs at it, but yeah.
I'll have to think about it. Yeah, there was once, like, उस तस्वीर में मैं था भी नहीं. I was not in that picture. They're like, your teeth are yellow. I pinned the comment. I was like, see. And sometimes if people send like hateful stuff and everything, I let the followers fight it out. मैंने कहा मेरे पास दिमाग नहीं है, आपस में आके लड़ लो तुम लोग. And then they start fighting one another. And then like वो अपने घर वालों को भी ले आते हैं, अपनी अम्मा अब्बा सब लोग. They start fighting. I was like, सही है लड़ो. मैंने कहा engagement बढ़ रही है, सही है, ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं.
Again, my followers, if you could kindly step it up. It's just my mom fighting people in my comments. Straight up, my mom will go in there and be like, that is not true, period. And I'm like, thank you.
Perfect grammar. That's not true.
Period. You are wrong, period.
Period.
What about you?
So when I started the podcast, I had a shaved head. And, you know, shuru mein, it was a podcast, not a lot of traction. So the people were genuinely listening to the conversations. So I had this one person once write me an entire essay in my comment section. He was like, you know, well, this is a categorical imperative, and you know, it's not right to use universally quantified statements. He's just breaking everything down. But at the end, मैं यही बोलना चाहूँगा कि गंजा सही बोल रहा था. It's like, dude, and you know, that's just our kind of, that's familiar to us, right? In that moment, he was just taking back some of it. He was just like, nahi, you know, because ये हम सुनते हैं बाप नहीं बनाओ किसी को. ये बड़ा मसला होता है हमें. We can't compliment anyone too much because God forbid he should feel good about himself completely. So I was saying all those things, but I was still गंजा सही बोल रहा था आखिर में. गंजा टकला बोला था, गंजा नहीं टकला बोला था, टकला सही बोल रहा है. So yeah, that was funny. I was just like, kudos, dude. Yeah, thank you.
One of my favorites is somebody will be like, wow, you look really nice, but please don't wear this color again. Please, thanks. And I'm like, well, since you said please, I guess I didn't know it was that emotional to you. While we're wrapping up, I wondered, what is the future of content? Here, we're talking about the future, solutions, this and that. What do you see for content creation in Pakistan coming up? For yourselves even. We'll start out, why don't we start down there and move this way? I'll change it up, moderate.
I just genuinely think, more than anything else, for everyone who is sitting here, please embrace content because your Instagram, your Facebook, your TikTok is your CV. It's better than your CV as well because no one reads your CV. You spend hours editing, people are like, nikalo isko yahan se. Honestly, but like if you make like one good video, if you have like a series of videos of anything that you're passionate about, it could be brushing your teeth to, kya kehte hain, maybe how medicines are made, anything. Make content for yourself and the audience will follow. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing. Just crack it out for yourself. And I think that is the future. When individuals start embracing their own interests and are able to then showcase it to a wider audience and build communities around themselves. That to me is the future.
I agree with the fact that our Instagrams and our Twitters are our CVs now. Because whatever the kind of work you're putting out, you're gonna get the exact same opportunity. When I started making illustrations, I had no idea that I would end up working for a startup like Uran. That it's a fintech company, and I never saw myself working with the finance sector, and I'm making illustrations for them now. So you have no idea what the other person is gonna need from you. So your Instagram is gonna be your CV, even your TikTok is your CV. So whatever you're good at, people are going to like you for it, and you're gonna get opportunities for that. It works really well for me because literally all of the work that I get is from my Instagram.
Good to know, yeah. All right, Kazi, same question.
So I would just encourage everyone, and you said, what's the future? I think the future is us taking our space back. I think for far too long in Pakistan, we've relinquished our space to people who are louder, people who are probably a little more scary looking, but they're the minority, we're the majority. We need to take our space back. And, you know, beautiful conference, but look at the name. It's in the freaking name, right? Disrupt. Disrupt, take your space back. This is all your space. And you're the world. You really are. And if someone didn't tell you this today, or I'm telling you this right now, take it. I have a degree in philosophy. Trust me, you're the world, you're everything, but you need to take your space back. If you don't stand up for yourself, no one else is going to do it.
Woo!
Allah Rahim karega.
On a last note, Fred.
So I'll just like give like a little perspective, just put numbers in this. So like as a doctor, I am always on duty. My boss was literally just calling me before I was going on stage. She knew I was going to go on stage, but she still called me because something was more important.
Life.
Life and
just a life.
Yeah. And you know, for that, like I went to med school for 5 years, and like आपने इतना पढ़ते हो, इतना कुछ करते हो and everything, and for this job जहाँ बोलते हैं आप डॉक्टर हो, you are respected, डॉक्टर साहब आप इतने respected हैं, ये सब कुछ and everything, मुझे 70,000 रुपए देते हैं इसके लिए, ठीक है? And for doing one post on Instagram, one paid thing, I will make 2 times that for one post, and that's where आपका दिमाग में you have this crisis कि what was the point पढ़ने का, क्या point था इतना करने का? And some days if you will get 3-4 decent campaigns, you make decent amount of money. So, and Instagram and the social has given me the platform, the opportunity to work on with brands. It's given me the opportunity to write and for publications. It has given me the opportunity to be here in front of you. I'm just a boring doctor, like literally, and I never thought I'd be here. So point being, guys, embrace it, honestly, and I'm sure everyone has thoughts, everyone has something going through their heads and everything, but you're like, you're just scared to put it out. There's a start somewhere.
Oh, very nice. We're going to go back to Hassaan at the end for a sec. Let's go.
Now we know how much Bilal earns, so hame treat dega.
I know. I was just going to say, in a city with so many robberies, you know who to take after the stage. Other content
Mera mobile
creators
jayega.
are struggling. Grab his phone. That is his job. Actually, I think that's a great place to close. I do want to say that I am in full agreement. Who you are, your personal brand, content creation can do everything for you. I literally was a person on Twitter. And then here I am. So that's fantastic. I want to give a round of applause to all of our speakers.